This presentation covers the life of American author Langston Hughes, who lived from 1902 to 1967. James Mercer Langston Hughes was born in Joplin, Missouri, and spent most of his youth in the American Midwest. His parents divorced when he was 5 years old, and his father moved to Mexico. He was raised by his grandmother until he was 13, when he moved to Lincoln, Illinois, to live with his mother and her husband, before the family eventually settled in Cleveland, Ohio. It was in Lincoln that Hughes began writing poetry. While still in elementary school, Hughes was chosen as class poet, and while still in high school, he published 2 poems in national magazines. After graduating from high school, he spent a year in Mexico with his father. The next year, Hughes moved to New York City to attend Columbia University. He remained in school only a year before dropping out to work as a seaman and cook's helper on a steamer heading to Africa and Europe. He lived and worked in Paris and Italy, and then returned to the United States, where he worked as a busboy in a Washington, D.C. hotel. In 1926 and 1927, Hughes wrote his first books of poetry, The Weary Blues and Fine Clothes to the Jew, for which he won poetry prizes and wide critical acclaim. He wrote his first novel, Not Without Laughter, which was a semi-autobiographical story about a young African-American boy who was raised by his grandmother in Kansas. Hughes became a very prolific writer with a wide range of talent. He was a successful humorist and historian of the lives of African Americans, and he published novels, short stories, poems, children's books, song lyrics, operas, and plays, including 3 of which were produced on Broadway. He also translated foreign writers and wrote as a foreign correspondent for the Spanish Civil War for the Baltimore Afro-American newspaper, as well as wrote newspaper sketches for the Chicago Defender. Although Hughes traveled the world visiting Mexico, Cuba, several islands in the Caribbean, Africa, Western Europe, the Soviet Union, China, and Japan, he was most influenced by his American experience, by his Black heritage, and by the vivid life of New York City's Harlem, with its blues and jazz music that influenced his poetry's structure and rhythm. Hughes was the first Black American to support himself as a professional writer. He produced more than 60 books and was one of the first American writers to receive extended and serious critical attention for his realistic portrayals of Black Americans. His extensive writing achievements made him one of the dominant voices speaking out for the significance of Black culture in 20th century America, and he is credited as the leader of the writers who created the Harlem Renaissance, or the cultural, social, and artistic explosion that took place in Harlem, a predominantly African American neighborhood in the Manhattan borough of New York City, between the end of World War I and the middle of the 1930s. Harlem was a cultural center, drawing Black writers, artists, musicians, photographers, poets, and scholars. The information for this PowerPoint comes from the Poetry.org website and Volume 2 of the 10th edition of the Anthology of American Literature. All images are from Google Images.